in this, it could backfire.
Yeah, I completely agree, but I don't see why the Yacht Boys wouldn't have confidence in this. I mean, their shadow player is so high on the ladder. I'm sure they've met this team a bunch of times. I've even seen Kenitra Tigers. I think Kenitra Tigers even lost in the upper bracket to the Yacht Boys shadow play in the last GCD. I can't remember. I think it was a 3-2 series that was narrowly taken by the Yacht Boys. Maybe the Yacht Boys remember that they feel like they're confident going into this game. We do see Thessio playing the mage. Of course, he's normally the rogue in their RMD. They do have Gelu Baba available as well. They have two mages in this team. So they're choosing to opt with Thessio for this particular matchup. We see the sap onto Miley, Frosty put into the cheap shot. There was no clone to follow that up though. Good stops by Thessia, putting the deep freeze onto Chaz, with of course playing that Resto Druid Stoinkinov. A nice double fair now to follow that up. Can they get some pressure onto No Lifer here? The Hodge onto Akai Suichi should shut down the offensive pressure coming out from Kenitra Tigers. The Sheep to follow that up, but a nice invisibility from No Lifer means they should be okay for now. The blind onto Miley is going to get answered by that Bob, but Thessia still dropping kind of low. The CS isn't available for No Life. He should be able to get some heals, and Thessia is going to be okay for now. But that invisibility from No Life did stop the Shadow play in their tracks, and they haven't really had to use too many defensive cooldowns.
Yeah, No Lifer's actually still in stealth right now. They're not able to find him, and that was a clever and cheeky invis from No Lifer. He's going to hold on cooldowns. Now he's leading forward with his charge in to get the deep freeze onto Miley. Is he going to follow it up with a sheep? He's trying to get that sacrifice off. He does manage to squeak it off. Now going for the frost jaw. He needs to get this sheep. He lands the sheep. This is terrible for the Op Boys. They're going to force the ice block out from Deja. Curious to see if Suchi's just going to run away and look for a re-stealth, or if he's going to stay on top of them. He's still following up with Polys. Stokanov is actually in stealth now. Maybe he's going to look for a clone from stealth. Looks like he's trying to avoid a deep freeze as long as possible, and these interesting stealth tactics from the Kenitra Tigers actually getting them ahead.
Yeah, No Life is on fire right now, turning from that defensive invisibility, which most people wouldn't have even thought of going for, into that offensive play, maybe able to get the sacrifice off, get that frost shot into the sheep, making sure he did the frost shot first so that they couldn't break too quickly from the sacrifice. We do see another sacrifice out from Miley. He doesn't have any of those available now, so the next setup should be quite clean. Only one bop really for Miley to press before the CC chain, and Thessia is down one ice block. No real cooldowns forced out on Kenitra Tigers yet. They're looking very healthy, but they just have to work out how they want to go for this offensive push. We see Prophecy kind of pushing in with their spectral guys, trying to maybe get some work done, but Kenitra Tigers are playing so careful right now. They're just avoiding anything from the Yacht Boys. We see the bash onto Frosty. Can they follow it up with some CC? This could be their chance to go offensive, but the defreeze onto Chaz denies that Cyclone, and now No Life is the one taking pressure. He's down to 10%. He almost goes down before the ice block, and they disarm to follow that up onto Chaz. They're just putting so much CC into Chaz, trying to make sure that they can't get the healing onto No Life. He might just go down. The fear comes out. The trinket's just maybe too late. 1% HP. He's just about going to survive, but that was every single cooldown from Kenitra Tigers. The Yacht Boys turning it around in an instant.
Wow, and now they're switching the pressure onto Suichi. Is he ready for it? He's dipping dangerously low. He's got the Cloak of Shadows. He's actually going aggressive here. Kidney shot on Frosty. Cheap shot onto Thasia. He's going to be the target. They're looking to get the final ice block. Miley knows that. He's going to bubble, but it could be an overlap. Surely he's going to need to block. He's down at 15%, playing it very ballsy. He gets locked on Frost, and Thasia can easily go down. He's at 5% HP. The power and shield from Frosty is keeping him alive long enough to get the ice block off, and these Shadow Priests coming in with the clutch power with shields on so many different teams. Deja will survive for now, but they are actually very far behind.
Yeah, he can still go down here. I mean, Miley gets kidney fall and seal. That's going to be it. Surely the trinket comes out. The DR deep freeze. Can they get anything off that? They get the full shape. The blind on the Prophecy. The cross CC is immaculate from Kenitra Tigers. The shield just about proccing on Thessia. He's still down to 20%. The triple DR bash. The DR shoot. They're putting so much DR CC into Miley. Is it going to be enough? It looks like he's going to survive. Prophecy with brilliant peels, brilliant heals. The fear onto Sushi, the silence onto No Life, and they're just doing whatever they can to keep Thessia alive, but they use so many of their offensive tools there defensively. They don't really have any instant CC available for Kenitra Tigers. They're just so far ahead. They have a block in 20 seconds. They need to turtle until that comes up for Thessia, but this just looks so bad for the Yacht Boys.
It still is looking bad. They would like to play defensively here. Thasia knows that he's pulling back to the pillar. He wants to make sure that he has another block before they push in, but Suchi doesn't have Cloak of Shadows. Stokanov doesn't have Trinket. that is the opening for the Yacht Boys. Suchi, I would expect to be the kill target moving forward, but it looks like the Yacht Boys are going to pull the trigger first. Guns blazing. They land the sheep on a Miley, but he did get the sacrifice up. Did they just spell steal it instantly? I think Nolifer got a very lucky spell steal, stripping that right off, and the sheeps are going to sit full. Miley ore mastering out of the frost draw. He's desperately trying to keep Deja alive. They don't want to have to use the ice block here, but he might need to. His Save by the Light Shield's going to proc. Actually making a swap onto Stokanov. He sees it coming. He trades out the bark skin, gets back to the pillar, and now Kenitra Tigers need to bring the aggression here onto Thasia. Stokanov gets a full clone onto Miley. Thasia's in quite a bit of trouble here. He might need to block. They do connect a lot of damage, forcing the final block out from Thasia. More clones to follow it up on a Miley. We see a defensive fear from Frosty, but he does get cloned up. He's not able to capitalize too much. They follow it up with a deep freeze. The ice block is now over for Thasia. They're just keeping the CC going. Kenitra Tigers have never stopped juggling the crowd control. Thasia's getting behind the pillar. We see Suchi aggressively Cloak of Shadowing. I'm wondering if that's going to bite him in the butt later. He's going to open up on the Thasia. They could easily just kill him. They get the full clone, and Stokanov has been going clone crazy and is going to carry the game here and finish off Thasia. And the Out Boys are going to fall 1-0. And that's what I was saying. Like, if Kenitra Tigers are playing like near perfect, like they were, even above like the average level you expect from an RMD with like the cells and pulling back when they were, they can definitely beat the Out Boys outcome.
Yeah, that was a crazy game number one, man. There was no lifer hit 1% health. I mean, Thasia hit 1% health a couple times. Stone Kanov got low a couple times, but Kenitra Tigers, they are looking so strong with this sub RMD here in game number one. And I really got to shout out Stone Kanov, Chaz, for those Cyclones. I mean, there was actually a hard swap onto Chaz. He was forced to use that Displacer Beast, forced to use that Bark Skin, but right as soon as they stopped going out looking at him, Chaz was instantly back into the battle looking for those offensive clones and making those plays, you know, going like switching from offensive to defensive instantly. And I think that's a big reason to why Kenitra Tigers was able to just keep that CC momentum and keep those setups going and ultimately take the win there. And congratulations to them. That was a hell of a game number one, and we're going to be jumping into game number two up next. That means the Yacht Boys are going to have that map choice for game number two. Is there necessarily a map that Frostmage Shadow Priest can gain an advantage over a rogue mage composition?
I mean, the way that particular game went, I don't really think so, because normally you could say maybe the RMD's running away for resets a lot and the Shadow Play could pick a smaller map to try chase them a little bit more, but we didn't really see that from Kenitra Tigers too much. They did reset a couple of times, but it was always at times where the Yacht Boys didn't have too many cooldowns either. They were forcing out the cooldowns so easily, so the Yacht Boys were kind of reluctant to push in as well. There was only really one good offensive push for the Yacht Boys where we did see, of course, Nolifer drop to 1% and they almost landed the kill through the trinket and through the ice block there. But other than that, they didn't have too much offensive pressure. Maybe they could go for a smaller map and try play a little bit more YOLO. Frosty had to use a lot of his silences and fears defensively to keep his mage alive. Maybe if they can get the pressure earlier on, they can put those CCs onto Chaz instead. But I don't know, that game looked quite strong for Kenitra Tigers.
It's a momentum battle, really, and usually, at least from NA, we usually see the Shadow Priest being attacked. So it's interesting to see that they're pressuring the mage so much more. I guess they don't want to deal with. I don't even know exactly. I just feel like maybe going after Thasia that hard, like he was able to get behind the pillar so much. I don't know. It's going to be hard for them to find their targets. It seems like Suchi was exposed for a lot in that match, and they weren't really trying to punish him for it. They kind of made a strange swap onto Stokanov as well. So I'm wondering really who their target is going to be moving forward. I think they need to have a strategy for who they're going to be attacking if they want to be able to beat the Kenitra Tigers.
Yeah. I agree. And Kenitra Tigers look so confident there as well. Like, Nolifer used his only ice block offensively at the end of the game. Suichi used his cloak offensively at the end of the game. They were just so confident in how far ahead they were. And like you said, the momentum was just on their side pretty much from the start. When the gates opened, they got that first ice block. So well played by Kenitra Tigers. I think the Yacht Boys certainly have the potential to turn it around. Like you say, if they get a better opener, they get the block early from Nolifer or anything like that, they can just snowball the entire game off of one little thing like that. So we'll have to see if they can produce something better, the Yacht Boys.
And here we go. Game number two is ready to go on Tiger's Peak, a very similar map to in a Grand Arena in terms of balance. Not really giving I really don't think it gives an advantage either way. So we can anticipate another extremely close game. That first game, though, I don't think it can be trumped in how close it was. I mean, there was so many times where I thought No Lifer was just dunzo. Or I mean, at the same time, he had those defensive cooldowns to always deal with it, but he got to 1% health there for a moment, 1%. But Stone Kanav always keeping his cool, keeping his team alive. Can the Yacht Boys overcome here in game number 2? We're about to find out. The gates have now opened.
Yeah, we've seen quite a few representations of the 1% today, actually. I think that's the second or third person to live on that HP.
If I crit, he dies. Looks like a clean opener for the Kenitra Tigers, though, isolating Deja. They might be able to get a block with this. Death from above coming out. Deja getting bursted down very hard. The Save by the Light shield has proc. He's holding on to that block as long as possible, and with no CC on Miley, he's going to get away with it. We see No Lifer building out more icicles. They're just tunneling into him. A nice clone from Stokanov is going to pause out the damage. Was that instantly? I believe it was instantly trinketed by Deja. They really want to turn it around, and No Lifer is forced to block. Suddenly, the Yacht Boys strike back, and now building a lot of pressure onto Sushi, and I think the Yacht Boys are out for vengeance. Another polymer in front of Stokanov. Suchi's in a lot of trouble. He trades at that Cloak of Shadows at 25% HP, and now Kenitra Tigers are leading the offensive. Miley's going to bop himself out of the blind, but he goes into the deep freeze. Suchi's got a lot of damage with this dance available. It doesn't look like he can really connect it, though, and they don't keep the CC going onto Miley, and the Yacht Boys should be able to recover, and now they've got the Cloak of Shadows down on Suchi. I would imagine they're going to keep going after him. Stokanov's going to give Suchi a little bit of a sprint to get back to the pillar, but Frosty's right on his tail, trying to connect some more damage. No Lifer getting sheeped up in the middle of the map. Stokanov unable to dispel. We see a preemptive Iron Bark onto Suchi. I don't really blame him. He could easily go down here. We see a deep freeze over on Stokanov. Thesia is trying to get that Ring of Frost, but he does get silenced. He's unable to get it. We see a smoke bomb onto Thesia. Nice smoke bomb. Actually could force a block here. Really well done from Suchi. Despite being very far behind the cooldowns, he's able to find an opportunity, and he just took it.
Yep, and we have seen some of the minor cooldowns coming out from Miley as well. He's used one of those bobs. He's used both to sacrifice. It's a nice gouge onto Thesia. Is going to shut them down for now. A nice cycling, but it's going to be MD'd by Frosty. Well played by him. He wants his team to be able to push, and he knows that Thesia has to be out of CC for his team to be able to get anything done offensively. Stonkinov just kind of sitting in the back line, purging the dots, and he gets a re-stealth before this go onto No Lifer. If he can get the NS, he does have the NS up. Unfortunately, it gets purged. He couldn't quite get it in time. Maybe No Lifer was slightly out of his LOS. That's really unfortunate for Kenitra Tigers, and that's going to be the second ice block. He's going for that invisibility. Can he get it off? It looks like they might have just found him. Yeah, they did find him in the invis, so well played by the Yacht Boys, and that's going to force the trinket out of Chaz. There's basically no cooldowns left on Kenitra Tigers, and you just look at the cooldowns for the Yacht Boys. They have pretty much everything. Miley has all his breaks. There's still a block available for the Yacht Boys. Kenitra Tigers just so far behind, but this is a slightly bigger map than maybe we were expecting the Yacht Boys to pick. If the Kenitra Tigers can just kind of run away, reset, wait for some of those cooldowns to come back up, they might be okay, but it's such a long time. It's over a minute until they have a good defensive cooldown to save No Lifer, and here does come that offensive push. A nice deep free from Thesia, though, is going to shut down the Rov. We see the Fear instead to follow it up. No Lifer in a bit of trouble now. If they can get the Rov off that, it'll surely be the game, but an unfortunate Fear Path does stop, and it means that the Rov will not land. I think he actually got CS'd anyways by No Lifer, so well played by him to be sure. The Iron Bark coming out before the silence might be enough to save him, as we do see Akai Suichi popping that defensive dance. The offensive bob coming out from Miley isn't enough to get them the kill, and Kenitra Tigers survive for now.
Yeah, they are clinging on. They need to stay alive for at least another 30 seconds. Frosty's moving in, coming in hot, looking for a triple fear, but he's going to eat a kidney shot, and maybe they could even swap some pressure onto him. It seems like they were looking to attack Stokanov. He traded out his Barkskin, a little bit of a premeditative Barkskin, and now basically him and No Lifer are very vulnerable to death. A full sheep follows up, and there should be no way that No Lifer makes it out alive. He's going to try and prove me wrong. He blinks the pillar with 24% HP remaining, 18% HP remaining. Frosty should be able to finish him off. Stokanov barely gets in line of sight, but it's not enough. No Lifer will fall. And the Yacht Boys, I mean, game number 1, that was just nerves. And now game number 2, they found their center, and they're looking very good.
Yeah, almost, I feel like, especially in the beginning of the game, they were really aggressive, and like I feel like the best defense is that offense, and they're gonna take game number 2 on Tigers Peak here against Kenitra Tigers. And moving forward, I don't know if the Yacht Boys are able to play like that again. I feel like Kenitra Tigers, they're the ones now on the back foot. But it's a tied up series now. It's currently just 1-1. This is the semifinals of the tournament. The winner of this series will move on to lock in their position in the finals. The loser will then have to drop down in the semifinals of the lower bracket and face potential elimination here. So neither one of them want to be in that position. It's a best of 5 series. The team that makes it to 3 wins first will be moving on, and I don't know. I don't know. Now that the RMD has the opportunity to pick the map, where do you think we're going? I feel like Tiger's Peak is a good indication that there wasn't really an advantage for either way, but I mean, they could maybe utilize a smaller map to find like a specific strategy, but I don't really think a map is going to help them at all. I think it's all going to come down to what it is that they do themselves.
Yep, I completely agree. I don't think it really matters too much because ultimately they're gonna the RMD, if they get a nice opener, the momentum's gonna kind of ride with them anyways. I think they will pick a slightly bigger map, so they do get that option of completely resetting. As you can see there, it would have maybe been enough for them to survive, because they definitely needed to be able to get those resets. But if you just look at the damage in the last game, Prophecy was able to be so offensive. The whole of Kenitra Tigers, all their damage put together added up to about 2.5 million. Prophecy alone did 3.4 million damage. He was doing about 30% more damage than the entire Kenitra Tigers. And then you put Thessia's damage on top of that. He was doing about 2.5 million, so he was doing roughly double his opposition's damage as well. So they just did so much more damage. And when you look at numbers like that, you just kind of wonder how Chaz is even keeping them alive through that. But it really just does mean that the Yacht boys were they just had so much pressure. It meant the Kenitra Tigers couldn't really go offensive. They didn't get any damage done. They didn't get anything going. No trinkets forced out from Miley that game, and they have to figure something out for this next game. It does just come down to the opener, though. I really think that.
Yeah, the opener in the first match was basically perfect for Kenitra Tigers. They were able to avoid blocking, avoid trinketing, and avoid cloaking for like a minute and a half or something. It was pretty spectacular. And now when the Yacht boys are able to get on top of them, it doesn't seem like they can get away. We see Thasia trying to find them in stealth with these blizzards. They're not going to find them. Suchi moves in. He gets the sap. Cheap shot onto Frosty. Stokanov looking to chain that into the cycle. He's trying to fake the counterspell. He doesn't manage to get it, however, but they don't follow up the CC. Miley should be able to get a sacrifice, which he does, to prevent any more CC on himself. They're actually going to follow up with a kidney shot instead, a gouge onto Frosty, and Suchi's taking this game into his own hands. He's choosing to pop the Shadow Dance, a bit of a reckless move here. How much damage will he get with no CC? It doesn't look like he's going to really get any, and this is devastating for Kenitra Tigers to lose their Shadow Dance like this. And now the Yacht boys get a sheep on the Stokanov. No Lifer's in trouble. He's trying to get out of line of sight. He's doing a good job running away so far, but they finally do catch him. It's going to have to be his block. He's done at 24%. He's going to get that ice block in time. Stokanov coming back to him, but they master spell it off. He's trying to get some Heart of the Wild Hots onto him. He should be able to recover. It looks like they're switching their attention to Suchi as No Lifer is behind the pillar. Now No Lifer blinking forward. He goes for the defreeze. He's trying to get the sacrifice. Never lucky. Spell steals. Unable to get it off just yet. Now finally removing it. He needs to get the sheep. It doesn't look like he's in range though to get it. He's just building up some damage for the attack, but this is again looking so good for the Yacht boys.
That Miley with two great sacrifices on the last two setups has basically meant the Yacht boys can be free range. And I mean, sure, Kenitra Tigers were stable for a bit, but they haven't got anything done offensively. So we do see there now on the back foot again, the full sheep landed onto Chaz, the Hodge put onto Sushi. He's going to use his Vanish since he doesn't have that Dance available. Oh, he does have the Dance available just now. So they do have some offensive tools. The Bob coming out onto Prophecy, though, is going to deny anything from Kenitra Tigers. A nice double fear from him. Shuts down Chaz into the silence. They're trying to get pressure perhaps onto No Lifer, but he's doing a good job of avoiding that for now. He has spamming out the sheeps. The Ironbark now comes out from Chaz. He should be fine. But again, we haven't really seen anything come out from Kenitra Tigers. They haven't really forced any cooldowns. We saw one offensive bob there from Miley. Maybe they can punish that, but I mean, they're just kind of behind right now. They have some cooldowns to answer the Yacht boys' offensive pushes right now, though. They do have the trinket for Chaz. They do have the block for No Lifer. As another kidney comes out onto Miley, but again, there's nothing really to follow it up. Another dance kind of goes to waste for Akai Suichi, and now we see No Lifer taking the grunt of the pressure. He's down to 20%. He has to go into another block. I don't think they even had CC onto Chaz there. The deep is still available. So Akai Suichi now dropping low, having to pop that cloak. The fair comes off that. The trinket coming out from Chaz. This is just disaster for Kenitra Tigers. They are so far behind. The silence might just end the game even. No Lifer down to 30%. He's desperately blinking away. Chaz is out of CC, but he doesn't really have any healing cooldowns. Akai Suichi is also low, no cloak available. There's no defensive cooldowns for Kenitra Tigers, and they're facing going behind on this series on their first map choice, actually. No Life for QT might be able to survive for now, as they do get topped up to 100%, but they still really have nothing.
Yeah, Stokanov. Here comes the triple CC. Suchi caught into a fist of justice. Great defensive smoke bomb. To have the presence of mind to use that really was their last line of defense, but the smoke bomb has faded. You can no longer hide. How much damage do the Yacht boys really have to dish out? It seems like No Lifer's being attacked at the moment. Stokanov looking for a defensive clone that will connect onto Thasia. I like that. Having the awareness to get the clone despite his team being so low. He knew that he needed to stop damage, but they still haven't successfully stopped it. Suchi's trying to get out of line of sight. He's done a good job so far. He's looking to get a reset stealth here potentially. No Lifer pulling back now as well. Frosty not giving up the hunt, moving in. He's going to get cloned up. These clones from Stokanov are kind of carrying again right now, defensively at least. We see a preemptive sacrifice. No Lifer needs to spell steal that. He is lucky this time around. However, he does get interrupted. Deja could be in trouble, but he's still got both blocks to trade out. I wouldn't even be surprised to just see one traded and then they go offensive with it. Miley getting full polymorph, but he did top off Deja, still with no Cloak of Shadows. For about 5 more seconds. Doesn't look like they can really do it, and Kenitra Tigers are in a decent position right now. No Lifer is going to have another ice block. They still need to try and get Miley's trinket, but we see Thasia going in. He goes for the deep freeze. He goes for the Ring of Frost, but he doesn't get it. We see Frosty follow up with a fear instead, and now Suchi in a lot of trouble. He has no feint for this full stun. He's not going to make it out alive. There's no way. So much damage to follow it up, and the Yacht boys are just going to lob him a huge potato and take him down in game number 3. And they're looking very good now in the series. They're only 1 win away from advancing to the finals.
Yeah, I mean, they're getting these defensive cooldowns out from Kenitra Tigers very convincingly. They're doing their strat. They're going over. They're just rinsing, repeating, and it's working out fantastically. Suchi had nothing left to deal with that at the very end there. And that's exactly the position that Yacht Boys wanted to be in to get that. And they nailed it. And now they are currently up 2-1, and they're just 1 win away from knocking Kenitra Tigers down to that lower bracket. And I don't know, the Yacht Boys having this this additional composition of the Shadow Priest, Frost Mage, Holy Paladin is really paying off now here in the semifinals.
Kenitra Tigers just can't play offensive. It seems like, again, this the damage tells the tale. We see No Lifer pulling out 1.5 million. Akasuchi was only able to get out 900,000 damage, and Miley even managed to do 400,000 damage. So the healer almost doing half the damage of the rogue in that long game. Prophecy with 4 million damage. I mean, it's just Kenitra Tigers can't find the opportunity to go offensive. They're using so many of their dances to peel. They're having to run away. No Lifer using those blinks defensively. It just, so unfortunate for them. I don't really know what they can do different. Their first game was just so much better. Miley's getting nice sacrifices out, which is just denying so many of the goes. And then once they do commit the deep, they don't get the CC. They're just kind of on the run every single time. Prophecy's able to play offensive. They're just getting so much damage, so much CC out onto Chaz. Little CCs even, like disarms and stuff like that. It's so desperate for Kenitra Tigers. I don't know how they're going to respond to this. And they don't have another composition available, so they do need to figure something out.
Yep, but luckily for them, if they do end up going down, they do still have 1 more chance to make it to the finals in that lower bracket. They will have to face the champion of that lower bracket in the semifinals to determine who is going to be facing the winner of this series in the finals. That's kind of confusing, but essentially what I'm saying is if Kenitra Tigers can't figure it out now, they still have a second chance in that lower bracket.
Yeah, it's interesting. Kenitra Tigers look so good in game number 1, but the Yacht Boys, I think, have shaken off the nerves, and they're looking very solid now in the series. It was almost like they got clean sweeped in terms of cooldowns. Kenitra Tigers never had an opening, and if that keeps continuing, they're going to have no chance, really.
Yep. I mean, we've always felt like this composition, Shadow Priest, Frost Mage, Holy Paladin, did have an advantage, a slight advantage over a specific sub-rogue Frost Mage Restoration Druid. But I mean, like, all of these players are really top tier, and in a top tier scenario like this, I feel like this RMD kind of needs to like play off of the mistakes or maybe the vulnerabilities of their opposing team in the shadow play. After the warm-up game of game number 1, I really don't see many vulnerabilities in their play.
And game number 1 just looked, I mean, sure, the Yacht Boys still forced defensive cooldowns, and they did serve a good game, but Kenitra Tigers just, their CC was so immaculate, and we were praising them on how Chaz was always there. Even when he was taking pressure, he was always there with the Cyclones. And this game, Chaz actually did get some nice Cyclones out to slow down the pace of the game, which he needed to do because his team would have died faster if he didn't. But they're just not able to get that offensive CC. They need to be able to push in for it, because if No Lifer does get denied on the deep by a sacrifice or by something from Prophecy, then Chaz needs to be there with some sort of follow-up. Maybe they could even go for the strategy we've seen from other teams where the rogue just gouges simply, but obviously that doesn't work on a sacrifice. But in other situations, they just need to find some sort of CC. I feel like there's not enough urgency in their play, and if they keep playing like this, they're just going to keep falling behind and keep dying. So.
And here we go. We're going to be getting into game number 4 of this best of 5 series. And we are going to be entering Blade's Edge Arena. But I 100% agree with you. I feel like Kenitra Tigers, they're going to need to get almost creative in a sense when it comes to how they're going to get these CC chains out. I mean, the Yacht Boys, they have seen and understood how these setups happen from Kenitra Tigers, and they're doing a great job at at slowing them down and even stopping them. Specifically, even with those hand of sacrifices, having to deal with that, having to get that off, and wasting that little bit of time of no lifer to spell steal that instead of getting the CC off, is giving the Yacht Boys so many opportunities to avoid using defensive cooldowns in a setup. And I don't know. They're going to have to work around these stops and get the CC that they need to land the setups and to force the defensive cooldowns, or they surely will fall to the Yacht Boys in game number 4.
Yeah, we've seen Thasia, the main target for Kenitra Tigers, and I'm wondering if they're going to throw a curveball, maybe go after Frosty instead, because Thasia seems to be pretty untouchable in the past 2 matches. We see Kenitra Tigers instead, but they get Blizzard, a terrible start for the Kenitra Tigers. They're going to go for it in desperation. They land the deep freeze, they get the Ring of Frost, and they've managed to salvage this, maybe potentially. No Lifer's on the run. He's behind the pillar, trying to avoid any damage. Stokanov now caught into a full fear. They might just switch on to Suchi. Suchi knows that he goes for the Vanish, but he gets popped out immediately. He's down to half HP. He's trying to use the evasion to dodge the Shadow Fiend, a clever use of that cooldown, but it's not enough. He's forced to use the Cloak of Shadows. He's still down below half HP. Stokanov has left the crowd control. It looks like he's going to pop the Shadow Dance. They're trying to make something happen on the Thasia. Death from Above should connect and force the block now out from Thasia. Kenitra Tigers getting a little bit ahead here. Suchi, though, has to be careful.
Yeah, Tessie, of course, he plays that sub-rogue himself. He knows how scary that death from above being instantly blocking, not even considering holding onto it. That does allow him to hold onto the shield proc, though. I like that choice from Tessia, and now we're just kind of seeing them stabilize. They're just kind of running away. I want to see the Yacht Boys getting offensive, but unfortunately, it looks like it's the other way around. A nice pre-sacrifice from Miley, though. Again, the story, and again, Chaz, he's there for that cycling. That's exactly what we wanted to see from this team. And now Tessia is under so much pressure, but he does turn it around. A nice deep freeze onto Chaz, combined with the fear from Frosty, is going to completely turn around the situation. They're turning onto Akai Suichi. Can they get the disarm off that? It doesn't look like it's available. He's going to be okay for now. The Iron Bar coming out from Stoinkov, but he actually had to trinket to commit that. So Kenitra Tigers do give up one of their major defensive cooldowns. The Yacht Boys are now under the pressure themselves. The deep freeze onto Miley is followed up by a Sheep. An excellent Mass Dispel. The drop of the cross CC from Kenitra Tigers allows that through. The blind onto Miley, I don't think it's going to be enough to force a cooldown. And again, the Yacht Boys can be the offensive team now. We do see the deep freeze onto Stoinkov, followed up by that Sheep. The double fear from Frosty again, allowing that Sheep to be landed onto Chaz, and Akai Suichi's in so much trouble. He's already used that trinket. He could go down here. He's down to 30%, just about surviving with that Cloak of Shadows, but the silence onto Chaz means they might be able to go through it, and Akai Suichi's in so much trouble, down to 5%. He could just go down here with 1%. That will be game, and that's the series for the Yacht Boys, 3-1, but I think that was a better game from Kenitra Tigers.
It absolutely felt a lot more urgent, like you were saying. They definitely felt like they were on the line and trying to make something happen, but the Yacht Boys are going to come out ahead, and a 3-1. But what's your thoughts on that game, Supa?
I mean, Suchi, he knew that he needed to be careful, I think. I'm just wondering if that map didn't work out so well for them. What did they have to really pick? Did they have runes, I think?
Yeah.
Maybe they already went to Dalaran, so they just kind of thought Blade's Edge would be okay, but I think that map ended up failing them, and getting pulled out of stealth straight from the start obviously wasn't a great thing either. That might have ended up being the reason that they ultimately lost. The first deep freeze of the game seems to be dictating the pace of the match, so the Yacht Boys were able to stop it and get a lot of offensive pressure by going first, and they're ultimately going to take the game, take the series 3-1, and they are advancing to the grand finals.
The Yacht Boys once again are a finalist. That's actually, I think that's really impressive that the Yacht Boys have that consistency to be a finalist of 2 tournaments in a row at the very least. So congratulations to them as they move forward, knocking down Kenitra Tiger to that lower bracket. If you guys want to follow along to us in this bracket, make sure to type !bracket. But we're going to be jumping into